I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
New Year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
Welcome to No Question About That. This is the Weekend Pod with me, Ed, and him, Daniel. Daniel, we've just heard Ruben Amorim be asked about the goalkeeping situation, I think 3 times in a row there, in different ways, and he refused to answer any of it. Before the game, he suggested that Bryan had been picked on merit, that his performances in pre-season had won him the place in the team, and not Onana's injury. Deary me. How have we got into this position yet again?
It was funny. The question was, what are you going to say to your goalkeeper? And I will not let me answer that. We said it in the preview.
Yeah.
That you're doing all right in the game, and then bang, some dickhead in goal ruins it.
Yep.
And it is, as you say, how have we managed to get ourselves in a situation where you have 2 goalkeepers, not 1, 2, of such aggressive cuntitude? And because usually you'd think the second guy is someone you can turn to. Even if the first guy's shit, you just put the second guy in, and he might not be spectacular, but he won't continually drop bollocks. And if we're going to start with the goal, I guess we could start with Bruno, play the silly pass inside his own box, but Yoro could see everything in front of him. All he needs to do is put his laces through it. He doesn't. Mm-hmm. And then I think that it was a foul on Mount. I also think
shirt pulled. Yeah.
I also think, and more than a shirt pull, like arms. I also think, why the fuck is Mount marking Saliba?
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's in the 6-yard box. The keeper's there.
I know
everything. Obviously, we have to protect him by not conceding the corner and by marking properly and getting the right men on the right men. But
yeah. Well, look, I think there's 2 fundamental errors. Obviously, the stuff leading up to the corner, but then the inability to defend a ball under the crossbar. We've seen it so many times, right? You know, block the blockers. For the love of God, Arsenal did change it up a little bit in that they had men lined up along the 18-yard line, and
you've got to expect that.
Got to expect it, yeah. And then you've got to, you've got to adjust for it. So there's that bit, the inability to defend effectively in zones. And then obviously the keeper being so weak, and whatever pressure there's on him. If he jumps and he's pushed and leaned into, he gets the foul. He didn't even jump.
Also, why are they putting the ball out there? Because they know he's wank.
Yeah. In the preview show we did, I tried to give our goalkeepers a 6, and you laughed me out of the room. So I think that was fair enough. Fair pushback, Daniel. Noted.
Oh,
yeah.
Something I do very often.
Look, it's a real strategic problem, isn't it? Because you just can't have confidence, and it can be so easy. Like, it's a good performance. This was not a bad performance from United, even at times in the first half, and it wasn't very often where Arsenal were able to turn United's pivot around and run through midfield, right? You know, Casemiro had a lot of space to cover. Bruno dropped deeper and deeper in order to adjust for it. United had really good moments. You know, Cunha excellent on the ball. Mbeumo direct running. Ahmad, when he came on, Madueke were having nightmares about that. Skinned him 3 times, I think. 3 times he faced him up, 3 times he skinned him.
Is that possible?
I know.
One of my all-time favourite books, a book called The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, has a character in it called Boris the Manskinner. I heartily urge anyone that hasn't read it to go and read that book. Brilliant book.
Very good.
Anyway.
Give you nightmares.
What did you think, though? If to start from the beginning, what do you think about the team he picked?
Well, I was pretty concerned about that central midfield. I mean, partly because we know Bruno's going to play there, and he actually played a very disciplined role. And by the end of the game, he was the player facing goal for the bounce pass out to the wing, better than Harrants or De Ligt, who are going to screw that one up. So I was worried about central midfield most of all, and Casemiro hasn't completed a full 90 in the whole of the summer. Right, he just can't be fit. He played 75 minutes against Fiorentina. That's the most time he'd had on the pitch over 6 games in pre-season. I was just like, I'm not sure this guy can get around. What they did is he just played extremely disciplined. We've seen times when he's played an 8, but he narrowed the pitch. He stayed very, very disciplined. The out possession, we'll talk about with Darnish about the tactical stuff on Monday, but the rest defence, right, his positioning basically didn't move at all.
Yeah, he's basically, there's like a 3x3 square roughly.
Yeah. And he
stays there because if you think about the way that the team's playing, there are a lot of attacking players that want to go forward, so he's almost just an auxiliary defender. He's sort of the
basically,
but
yeah.
I think I was disappointed when I saw the team as well. And not just because of Casemiro, in that, I mean, he must fucking despise Ugarte. And we'll come to his cameos from the gods in a minute.
Oh, God.
but the fact that he's even picking Casemiro, he doesn't want to pick Casemiro is about as far removed from Ruben Amorim's idea of a central midfield player as it's possible to be. And yet he's still picking him above Ugarte because Ugarte is complete wank. Now, and a good half an hour against Everton in a pre-season friendly does not change this. But a reason why I was disappointed also was just it felt a little defensive. And at the same time, I know that I can say this because it's not my arse that's on the line if it goes wrong. So I think he's thinking, I don't have an option but to go for the midfield of Bruno and Casemiro. I don't agree. As I said, I would have played Mainu. I would have played Bruno further forward. Understand why he didn't. But I guess he's saying that if he's got to play Bruno and Casemiro, and he probably thinks he does, then he wants a wing back who's notionally a defender, Dallo. Mm-hmm. So I guess I understood why he did that. I was quite surprised to see Mason Mount playing. And even though
as
he
a
did
false
okay,
9,
it doesn't even matter what he's doing. He's a good player. I don't mind having him in the squad, although I'd sell him if I had to and if I could. I thought he played okay, but I just feel like with strikers, particularly new ones coming back from injuries, get them on the fucking pitch.
Yeah, and Sisco is fit, apparently, had a full pre-season. So Amorim said prior to the game that he's changed his life up in a week. And
I hated this.
I didn't like that.
I absolutely hated that.
And then tactically what happened was that United did really well getting into half spaces. And Mbeumo, Cunha, very, very clever players. Cunha especially. I mean, I think we're going to like him a lot, both his attitude, but his ability to find space. You know, he's an auxiliary Bruno, isn't he? And then Mount did the same thing. So they were all finding spaces between the lines when they could play out. They had much more success playing into the channels than they did like centrally in build-up. Again, we're going more detail with Darnish. But then I don't know whether this is even a term, they underloaded the box all of the time. And so you've got to get
centre forward
because there's no striker in there, right? So they've got all these like nice moves like in and around Arsenal's box. And it kind of shows had a lot of shots, but a lot of low-value shots.
Yeah, we'll come to it, but not replete with chances. And it's just, to go back to what he said about Sesco changing his life up. So why did Sesco change his life up? For this.
Yeah.
Arsenal at home, if you had a different centre forward, and obviously he's left Hoyland out and sold his lunch money in a pitch to try and make him understand that he is the opposite of wanted. But strikers, they don't have to run much. They know where the goal is. Your team struggles to score. And you need to get that guy a goal as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And it's now one game without a goal. That's how it's going to be until he starts scoring. And I felt like he wanted to get acquainted with his teammates. Well, there's a match taking place. Get him on the pitch with them now. And it's also, you're going to have to do it. So is it going to be the next game? And it's just, I mean, it wasn't particularly good when he came on. but it felt like there were opportunities with the ball in the box in the first half, or when they had opportunities to put the ball into the box. There was one where Dorgu crosses, and it's like, I know that was the right thing to do, but there's fucking no one there, mate.
Yeah.
Don't do it. But also, that's what you do in the situation he was in. I thought Arsenal looked nervous at the beginning as well, and we started quite nicely, and that was good to see. That it feels like they've changed enough of it so that it kind of feels like a different team.
I saw a bit of Arsenal in pre-season, and they looked extremely prosaic again. And it's almost every setback they have, every time they're the bridesmaid, instead of like prettying themselves up, they just get a bit more negative. And I think this is Arteta. I kind of feel fundamentally he's just a bit scared, and I'm not sure he'll ever create a title-winning team as a result. And they were like that today. This is a United team, with 3 new players or 2 starting, without a striker on the pitch, with 75-year-old in central midfield, with flappy Altay in goal, and all of that, and we just finished 15th. You'd imagine they'd take the game to us, and it wasn't that. United have ended this game with 60-odd% possession, 20-something chances.
And not because Arsenal necessarily let them either. Okay, they obviously sit back at the end, but when they tried to keep the ball, where they're trying to shut the game down, they weren't able to do that, even with Zubimendi. And let me add at this point that Zubi means Willie in Hebrew. I
love the childishness. Brilliant.
Arsenal couldn't get their game going. And watching them, obviously, you're not going to draw conclusions about the season after one game, but looking at Arsenal, I didn't get the sense that this is a team that is going to finish top. I'm sure that there will be a team that is able to get 1 point more than they do.
Yeah, well, we talked about it actually in the preview show about Arsenal and Gyökeres and why they went for him, because he's a ready-made now player rather than a development project. But the thing that he wants is balls into the channels that he can run onto. Right, he wants balls ahead of him, and he didn't get that today, and that's not how Arsenal play either. And the comms were saying, "Oh, he's going to have to adapt to Arsenal." No, that's not why you spend £70 million on a 27-year-old striker to go, "Hey, you've got to adapt to our system." It's now. They need the goals now, right? And they could blow the title in the first couple of months of the season because they don't score any goals, and it kind of looked like they were in pre-season, right? They didn't look like a team that's going to average 2+ goals a game and win the title. And that's how Liverpool gone the other way, right? They've gone even more attacking. They've gone Ten Hag ball, but with just much better players. And so the chaos that they create, they can profit from. And they scored 4 goals sort of out of nothing, really, at the weekend. And Arsenal looked the opposite of that. And I'd be quite worried if I was Arsenal fans. Although they won this game, you can't go away from that going, yeah, sure, they deserved it. And we can see the template that Arteta's trying to build there.
I can see that. To say they deserved it, because there's a metric for determining who deserves to win a game.
They scored the goal.
So they deserve to win. It's not that. It's that Gyökeres looks like a blunt instrument, I think. That also running the channels in the Portuguese league is one thing. Running the channels when you're up against stronger, faster, better centre-backs is another. Like, how good are you going to be running the channels against Forest, say, with their centre-backs, or
they've
running
got
the channels
centre-backs as well.
Against Van der Ven, or players who can match him for pace and physicality. And maybe his pace and physicality is better than theirs. Maybe his desire is more intense than theirs. I can accept that could be possible. But to be a top-level centre forward, you've also got to create your own goals. You've got to make sure you've got to be responsible for your team getting points, when otherwise they wouldn't have done. And maybe that will happen in games against low blocks where Gyökeres is the difference. I'm sure it will happen, but he doesn't look like the difference between winning the league and not winning the league for them.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it in the summer was it always felt like a very risky purchase for any player. And that's not to say I think he's crap and he won't make it. And I can't remember, I was Kees van der, what's his name, from The Devil in the Details pod, does all the metrics. He has a model for forwards. I think he was thinking of him getting 15 to 18 goals, something like that. That would be a good return, Premier League only. A very good return for a first season.
18 Premier League goals would
be excellent, right? Yeah,
that might be the difference. 18 Premier League goals,
and 13 might not, right? So, I mean, we'll see. He is an elite finisher. He didn't even get close to really getting a good chance today, and that box efficiency, right? The movement in the second 6-yard box is the one that I think is the concern with him. As you say, blunt instrument. Anyway, on to United. I don't feel...
On that point,
Yeah.
what do you make about the way we defended him? What do you make of how United's defence today? I thought it was not bad.
I thought it was fine. Euro is excellent in any of the channels, right? Just excellent. He is calm. He has obviously got excellent recovery pace. I think the one metric that always looked a bit dodgy with Euro was his aerial duels, right? It's quite low. He didn't face a lot of that stuff today against Arsenal. He managed to keep Martinelli very, very, very quiet. Gyökeres does tend towards the left-hand side as well. Thought he was good. De Ligt, we know, good box defender, doesn't make a lot of defensive mistakes. When the turnovers happen, it didn't happen that often really against Arsenal because United had a lot of the ball. Even if it wasn't in super dangerous areas, they dropped deep quite quickly, closed that space. I don't remember a time in this game when De Ligt faced a runner going past him. I don't think it happened. And Luke Shaw didn't make any mistakes, which is kind of what you want from Luke Shaw when he's a bit rusty. I mean, he's had the whole of pre-season, right? So maybe he's not that rusty. Thinking back to the Europa League final when he was terrible, and he was not. He didn't make any mistakes at all, really. I thought United defended pretty well.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
I agree. I thought De Ligt played well, and it's not the back four that I would pick, but I think it's a back four that deserves to start the back three, that deserves to start the next game.
Mm-hmm. A word for Patrick Dorgu, who's very, very, very high. I mean, when he hit the post, that comes from an Arsenal corner, doesn't it? Or Arsenal, yeah. And United just counter. He just stood out on the left wing, about 40 yards away from anyone. And United found him. He shot very early. He's an inch or two the other side, and it's a brilliant goal. I like his courage in doing that. I think Amorim said the team was brave. He's one of the players who is very brave because he can look really silly, but he can cover that ground because he's just a great athlete as well. So, and he was very good in pre-season. He feels like, was he still 20? He feels like he could have a really good season.
I think
touch
so
wood
too.
And all that.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like the physicality and the daring, he has both of those. He might lack a bit of finesse, but wingback's not just a finesse position. Although back to Gyökeres, it's been bothering me. I was looking at him thinking, who do you remind me of? And I thought, you've literally gone to the barber and said, give me a George McFly.
Oh, dear.
With that parting that starts here on the side of the head. But
it's very sharp as well, isn't it? The
it is. Yeah. I thought, but I agree. I thought he played well, Dorgu, and we know why we signed him, I think. And the question was, we know he's the profile that the manager wanted, but is he of the quality? And still don't know. But the signs have been good in pre-season and today that he is going to need to deliver numbers.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot so far, right? Assists, goals, all of that. It's very, very low. On the other side, when
is it zero even?
It might even be zero. Yeah, I'm trying to think if he hasn't got any goals. I know.
Is there an own goal?
Dallo on the other side. I mean, like you said, you can kind of understand it. One attacking, one brave, one a bit more defensive, and it's not like Dallo's bad going forward with the ball. I mean, he inverts quite well. He makes the extra man in midfield. He doesn't deliver any danger at all. And as soon as Ahmad came on, as I said, he just attacked Madueke over and over again and caused a bit of chaos as a result. Had one shot which was a bit weak after a good run. I wonder with Amorim, how brave will he be? I mean, it's Fulham next, isn't it? Fulham away next weekend. Will he be brave enough to play both of them and really push? Because so much United's build-up is down in these wide areas. And you've got the extra defender, and if you've got a midfielder just sitting, you've got a lot of protection against counter. How brave are you going to be?
Isn't it? 3 defenders in the midfield there. So I think that the plan will be for Ahmad to play eventually because it's not. I don't think we're going to be in a situation where he's leaving out one of Ahmad and Mbeumo and Cunha every single game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more about getting the team settled and then taking that extra risk, and then maybe dialing it down a bit against the better teams, which Arsenal are with Dalot. I don't know. I mean, ideally you get someone better than Dalot who can attack and defend. And then the thing with Ahmad is that he's not a defender, he's a winger. But then sort of the manager's job, isn't it, to teach him to defend? And he does know how to tackle. Like we saw it like one of those classic Ahmad occasions in the second half where he pinches a ball of a much bigger lad that feel he shouldn't be able to, but he does it consistently. I think with Ahmad, it's about teaching him when to step up and when not to, when to jump, when not to, and when to stand up and when to tackle.
Yeah, Amorim talked after the game about the pressing as well, which I thought was pretty good. It did sort of get in ones and twos in the second half, but certainly that first half, he created a few turnovers and a lot of pressure as a result of that. Arsenal adjusted a little bit towards the back end of the second half, dropped an extra player in there to allow for the simple sort of bounce pass and move. It took them a long time to adjust to that, though, and United did kind of profit, not with a goal, but at least systemically in the first sort of half. Yeah. And
when you say not with a goal, I mean, there weren't that many occasions where you thought we're going to score here. And obviously as it gets sort of half an hour to go, you're kind of thinking, I know we're not going to score here, because ultimately that's the problem with this team. You sign new players, but still can't score and still kind of struggling to create opportunities to score. In that the nearest they got to a goal, I guess, was the Cunha save, Raya save from Cunha. Mm-hmm. And I don't, when I say this, it's not, I want to sound like the dickheads that suggests this cheating to score from a set piece. It's cheating to score from a piece of individual brilliance. That's one of the reasons we signed Cunha. But what you also want to see, and what the best teams do, is they fashion chances based on sustained pressure.
Yeah.
And I felt like in the last 15 when Arsenal were on the rack, we did a much better job of sustaining attacks, and that's been a massive, massive problem post-Fergie. And I say it partly because I know sustaining the attacks is a real Fergie buzzword, boxing and sustaining attacks, and that was something that Fergie taught his teams how to do, and Fergie's teams would always do, but it's also just what good teams do. That you don't have an attack when the opposition go down the other end, you have an attack and you have another one, and eventually they broke. And I didn't feel like Arsenal were far from breaking, even though I didn't think we were going to score. And it did feel like not an old school United onslaught, but a bit of pressure sustained in a way that we've struggled to in the last few seasons. So that I wouldn't call it a step forward, but we could definitely see what Cunha and Mbeumo are going to bring to this team.
Yeah, and it's interesting so much United's attack going through those two and not through Bruno, although he did create 5 chances today because it's just Bruno, right? When he has the ball, he had, I think it was something like 60 passes today, so 60 touches odd, not bad. I guess if he's going to play in that 8, you want it to be more like 100. You want him on the ball all the time, finding Cunha and Mbeumo in those half spaces. There's time for that to all work out. He's going to have to just... Bruno, I mean, clearly he did when he's coming back sort of quarterback style to take it off Altay at the end of the game there. He did all right there. I liked a lot of what I saw. Word on Kobbie Mainoo, though, because he must be sat on the bench there looking at Ugarte getting 20 minutes at the end there. A world-class vortex of shite that performance was from Ugarte, who's looked pretty crap apart from that 20 minutes against Everton where he did beat one man and set up a chance, didn't he? Which I think was offside in the end, the Ahmad goal. But I know you've been beating that drum from basically the moment he was signed.
Before that. Before we signed him, I would say I actually didn't realise he was shit. I'd seen enough of him to know that he wasn't what we needed, even as a reserve, because it felt like, and we said this at the time, they signed him because they knew they needed someone. They kind of didn't have money for someone proper good. They didn't know exactly even who was good. I felt like they didn't have a proper target for that position. So they brought him because he was available and they could afford him. But I knew he wasn't good enough. but I didn't realise he was this wank. I mean, today there was that shot from like 25 yards.
Oh my God!
When we're really trying to make something happen.
When you're talking about sustaining attacks and he just blows it. Yeah,
there was a foul that he gives away that does the same. Yeah. He also gets megged and he loses the ball and they almost score. It was really, really a tremendous fucking cameo.
The foul reminded me of Chris Smalling levels of dumbness. I mean,
I wish he was as good as Chris Smalling.
I know. I was about to correct myself. Yeah, no, I'm just thinking the red card he got against City, just one of the dumbest fouls ever.
And the cup final one was good as well.
And the cup final, yeah. I don't know what to do with him. If we had a choice, if you could find a buyer, I'd find a buyer, and then just have a word with Brighton or Crystal Palace about Wharton and Baleba. It looks like neither of those. We talked about Baleba a lot in the preview pod. Felt like it was going to happen. Felt like United were going to push the boat. Seems like Brighton were just like, no, and it'll have to be so much money that it would be ridiculous and it would be hard for United to go spend 120, 30, 40 million. The problem is next summer there's going to be a tremendous amount of competition, and I'm quite sure that Brighton know it as well.
That's it, and they don't need the money. But I think it will be someone. I still think it will be someone. And there are players who it could be, but it must... If we'd have spent the money already on a keeper and a midfield player, we would not have lost today. I don't really like talking about... It's just the whole thing, the whole game's different. But I don't feel that feels that as an outlandish thing to say. If there were two positions in which we were desperate, in some ways even more desperate than in the positions that we were also desperate, who signed players for. But you don't build a swish new house, leave the back door open, get burglarized, and fucking sack the builder.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right, yeah. But yeah, no, decent analogy. I do wonder, like, because it does have to be someone. They cannot go through the season if Amorim will not use Kobbie Mainoo unless it's a replacement for Fernandes, right? Which it appears to be. He's now Fernandes's deputy in that second pivot, and it's one of Ugarte who's shite, or Casemiro who's ancient. Toby Collier's gone off to West Brom, right? This is so thin in there in terms of options. They really do have to do
long time since anyone said that about Casemiro.
Yeah, it's and like, what are the options though? Because Palace may or may not sell Eze. It doesn't look like Spurs offered enough money for him. Palace don't need the money. Like everyone in the Premier League, they don't need the money. Right?
I would say
everyone has money.
The money that they had earmarked for Baleba would probably. Do you not think that'd be enough to get Wharton?
It probably would be. Now, he's very, very different profile. He's more a Carrick than a Caicedo, right? If we're making analogies, obviously just a beautiful ball player.
So to that, I was on Chelsea Palace for work today, and he was actually the first 5-10 minutes not so good, but then the rest of the first half, I would say best player on the pitch. Didn't control it, but most of the good shit was done by Palace, and most of their good shit came one way or another through him. And I think I probably said this before, but the England team, after the last Euros, said that the one that they were, when Kobbie was in the team and playing well, Wharton, I didn't know if he got on the pitch, but said that the player that they were all going to be going back to their club managers and saying, you've got to get this guy, is Wharton.
Yeah.
There's Wharton, there's, I've forgotten his name for a second, the lad at Sevilla.
Aguirre.
Agume.
Sorry,
Luciano Agume.
Yeah.
There will be, I think, there's a lad at Monaco, maybe, I think, as well.
Yeah. And Kamara at Monaco and Angelo Stiller at Stuttgart. And there's a whole bunch, actually. Funnily enough, you should say that, Daniel. nqatpod.substack.com. That is going to be my Thursday piece. A long list of potential defensive midfielders.
And here's the thing, right? If, as you say, Mainoo's not that, Mainoo's going to, then we don't buy one of the lads that we mentioned, even if they're not as considered to be as good as Baleba, it doesn't fucking matter, because what happens if Baleba gets injured?
Mm-hmm.
We need two.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying.
I mean, and it sounds like they were front-loading next summer's money for Baleba. I mean, from a PSL point of view, I mean, I think we know, we've talked about there's a bit of headroom there. It's also over a 3-year rolling period, so you've got flexibility to play around. They know they're selling Garnacho and Rashford and Højlund. and Malacia and so on, and maybe Sancho, although I suspect his strategy is to try and get a last-minute loan. They know that there is some money coming in. It's just the scale of the money, and they can borrow as much as they like, right? Whether it's from the bank or from Sir Jim, who doesn't appear to want to do that yet, but could do. So that it's not the cash that's really a problem, although people, and I talk about it a lot, there's the ability to do it, but they will have a number, and they will have a number they're willing to go to for these players. And I think the Brighton number was just way too big. Brighton's negotiating strategy, I don't know whether you've read about this, is always quite fun. They don't say a number that's for them. They just say keep bidding until they get to the number that they model. Because, of course, their owner is a gambling guy and has been very successful with that, and poker and gambling. And they have their own analytics company and all of that.
Analytics thing. It's also just a way of making sure that you don't leave any money on the table. Someone I know who's in business negotiates in a way that's different, but not dissimilar in aim. Well, where what he will do is he will give a number, and it will be so low that whatever you go back and say will feel ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
moving the Overton window, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of the opposite way of achieving the same thing. And I wonder if this is Tony Bloom thinking these guys are going to commit everything to this shit. So actually, I'm just going to I'm going to say not for sale because I don't want to sell them anyway, don't have to sell them. Let's see if that feels like what's the best way of making them say something fucking immense.
Yeah. And United may well go back and say something immense. Remember, they pulled out the Altay deal last summer before doing it.
If only his dad had been so wise.
Oh, dearie me, Daniel, dearie me.
Cut that.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
It's the final chapter of the college football playoff.
It comes down to this.
Miami's unmatched grit and tenacity through the postseason has led them home. The national title now within reach.
They are confident. They are battle-tested.
Undefeated Indiana, led by Chris Signetti and Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza, have the chance to take home their first title and claim college football immortality.
The most remarkable turnaround in the history of college football.
The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Carvana's so easy, just a click, and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's...
Clickonomics 101.
Delivery to our door.
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And what?
No better feeling than when everything just clicks. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
It's funny, last week you called, on the preview pod, you called Højlund a fucker, and there were a few people pushed back. I think the context and the tone mattered. It's always tongue-in-cheek when you normally use the word dickhead rather than fucker. I don't know whether there's a difference there. Is there a scale of insult?
But that's never really an insult. Like, I talk about myself like that. Like, Irving Welsh does a really good passage in, is it Trainspotting or Glue, where he talks about, or maybe he talks about the use of the word cunt in Edinburgh, and how it's like, oh, he's a great cunt here, one of the best.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. If I call Højlund a fucker, I'm not. Well, I mean, what am I actually saying there? Like, it's obviously not literally meant. I don't mean he fucks people, because that would not really distinguish him from the majority of the human population of the world.
Well, at least means that he scores now and again.
Yeah, it's just a way of describing that's different. Yeah, it's the same person, really. And
I met Irving Welsh at it was this very weird thing in a warehouse in the Docklands where it was like this play that he'd done, And it was one of those places where you followed the actors around the warehouse. They moved from
like a
set
punch
to
drunk
set.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just followed them around. It was very, very intimate and interesting, and I had a chat with him at the bar. I talked to him about
Promenade Theatre, I think they call it.
Yeah. I always knew some cunt was going to fuck that cunt. That was the particular line I was interested in, of course.
John Embury said on a tour to, can't remember where, I think to India in the 80s, the fucking fuckers fucking fucked. Which sounds
and you wouldn't expect it from him, yeah.
Sounds like John Cooper Clarke. Evidently Chicken Town.
Apart from the goalkeeping and the striker and the midfield situation. Yeah, I mean, United, it's got to happen now. We've got less than 2 weeks now of the window to go. It's got to happen now. They cannot get to September the 1st and Garnacho still be in the squad and Højlund still be in the squad. I mean, I think Højlund, he's made all the right noises, right? He's a United fan. He wants to stay at the club. He wants to fight for his place. He speaks well. He speaks confidently. I think he's very determined in that sense, but they've sent him a very clear message. He said, stole his lunch money and they've given him a wedgie at the same time, right? And it's like, he's got the offer on the table from Milan. I think they're negotiating over whether it's an option or an obligation. Either way, it kind of works for United if they pay something of a fee.
I know what you
for
mean.
Loan.
There's part of me that's going, don't give them an obligation.
Just buy him now or not. Yeah.
Also, no, I think there's a player there. Then there might not be, but Amorim said it himself. The goals he scored, they are not easy to score, he said.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, we spoke about it before. I think it would be my preference alone, and see whether he can discover what being a striker is again. I mean, Diogo Dalot went off to Milan and was good enough to come back to United. I don't know when. Yeah. I'm not sure that is the best analogy, but it could work from him. I mean, it was very, very unfair on him, I think, to bring him into United. This massive fee was obviously way more than should be deserved based on his record, and say, hey, you've got to shoulder all this yourself, right? Kind of done the same thing with Sesko, but he's got 100 more games under his belt than Højlund has, a lot more development as a result. So, yeah, and there is also, I mean, the other option, of course, is just to keep him, which seems to be the thing they have decided not to do, which would suggest they are going to spend money somewhere.
They're doing everything they can to get him out for a fee on now.
Exactly.
And
so they wouldn't have left him out entirely otherwise, especially in a big game where you might want a striker off the bench, and all of this kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, there were shades of Højlund did one of Sesko's first touches in the box.
Oh, he bounced off him, and he was under a lot of pressure. But yeah, I did think that if he just controlled it, he would have had a shot with the right foot.
And did you think there was a penalty on Cunha at the end?
Yeah, I thought so. I was going to bring that up, actually, because I've seen the replay again and again and again. It goes straight through the back of him. He wasn't anywhere near the ball.
How is it that Cunha sort of played for it, but the guy doesn't get the ball. He does get the man. It's right in the middle of the box. What else needs to happen in that exchange, in that collision for it to be a penalty? It feels like you're saying that there's nothing the defender could have done there in order to concede penalty. And I thought it was penalty at the time, in real time. Then obviously the ref, nothing happens. You think, oh, I must be wrong because no one's not seen this. And then you see it again and you're thinking, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's VAR has changed, right? So VAR didn't review it or didn't think it was a penalty, didn't want to overturn it. We were told once upon a time that it was about correcting clear and obvious errors. That is not what VAR is anymore. I mean, that's quite obvious from the fact that Eze stuck one in the top corner from a free kick and they found 3 centimetres of movement from the defender that made him within 1 metre. It wasn't even called as a foul. It was that he wasn't 1 metre away from the wall, which wasn't even bloody wall.
I thought this was a foul at the time.
I mean, he does shove it.
I saw a replay of it before I knew even about the law about proximity to the wall existed. When they showed that again straight away, and I was blogging. I said that's a foul. And it reminded me, I don't know if you remember, that Stuart Pearce scores in the 1991 FA Cup final. Lee Glover's in the wall, and I can't remember who he shoves, but he shoves someone. I thought that was a foul, and yes, it ruined a great goal. But that seemed to be the argument that Chris Sutton was offering, and Micah Richards, that we don't want to be chalking off goals like that. Okay, but we can't play big for the course of the game otherwise. And
But mind you, right, if a bit of physicality, and it was quite a lot of physicality, right, on a player that wasn't part of the wall was the second point I was making, though. I mean, it's not within 1 metre of the wall if he's not part of the wall. It's maybe... Well, that's the point. You can't be within one...
You can still be proximate to the wall, but
he was quite a distance away from the wall when the shot happened. So it maybe moved within the... This is not the point about football, though, right? If VAR is there, and I think the first point I was trying to make, if VAR is there and it's micromanaging the margins of Rule 12.41 subsection B, paragraph A, like that is not the point. It was there to, like DRS in cricket, to stop the howlers from the referee, the major errors. And if it's now doing every micro thing, it should be looking at that foul on Cunha and saying, yeah, that's a foul, because he didn't dive.
Well, the foul on Cunha, to me, that's a massive error. I don't... But the problem you have in cricket, obviously, is it's easy. Is it LBW, yes or no? Did it? And we have three things that it has to satisfy. And we can see very clearly if it did or if it didn't, or if it's midway in between. With football, the calls are always going to be interpretative. So there's not necessarily going to be a real obvious, this should have been this and that should have been that. And so then it becomes about saying, well, what is, as you said before, like in what situation is VAR going to be deployed? And in cricket, as you say, the phrase is always to rid the game of the howler. And obviously what happens is it's never going to be like that. It's used tactically and it's used for marginal things too. It's just in cricket, those marginal aspects are more or less factual.
Yeah, they're binary.
Whereas in football, they're impressionistic. So one referee could look at it and decide one thing, one referee could look at it and decide another thing. And the Ezra free kick is maybe that's one of those. The Cunha one, I want someone to sit down and explain to me why that isn't the penalty. I can't. Mike Dean did say something like he's the new Peter. Well, I forget who that dickhead was before him.
Peter Walton.
Peter Walton. Yeah. There we go. There's a dickhead. Well, I think that actually did me dickhead. His head. His head has a helmet on it. But so I can't remember what Mike Dean said. It wasn't clarifying. I don't understand why that wasn't a penalty. And so that's the one. But again, when does VAR intervene? And it feels like VAR intervenes on everything. And in the background. And on that, VAR would have seen it. We don't know, though, if they've said, well, actually, I think that was penalty, but not enough of a clear and obvious error to intervene, or they just look at it and think that's not penalty. We don't know.
Man, I'd love a red button that gives us that audio. And why not? What's the risk, apart from embarrassing referees, what is the risk of giving us the audio all the time, live?
I know what you mean, and embarrassing referees is something that, in theory, I'm right behind, and I wrote a piece about this a few years ago, saying, like, why does anyone give me, why more or less, why the bookings for dissent even exist? Like, what sort of grown-ass individual can't take being called a wanker by someone or whatever I said? This kind of thing, and it's part of the drama of the game and whatever. And then I wrote a piece interviewing grassroots refs, some women, female grassroots ref, a trans grassroots ref, and the stories they told me made me say, okay.
Yeah.
And not just the stories they told me, but them saying that this totally comes from what they see going on television.
Yeah. And violence has really increased against referees.
And then I thought back to when I was playing that level of football, like under 10s, under 11s, and there wasn't this much football on television, and football wasn't this thing in popular culture that everyone was obsessed with and everyone watched. And it wasn't like that. And the thing that changed is more people seeing what the players do, and all these people that are involved in refereeing, so know much more about it than I do, are convinced that the example that they see set on the Premier League pitches trickles down.
Yeah, I wonder whether that's just a slightly different thing, because you mic up the ref, and they've done a few trials, haven't they, where, you know, it's 75% of it is expletive laden.
They did it Tony Adams at Millwall in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. But VAR's a slightly different thing because it's a technical conversation, right? So if we're not hearing the players abusing the ref at the time, and we're hearing the conversation between the ref and the VAR about the technical nature of it. I mean, they've brought some of this in. They're having refs mic'd up to explain the call, but in kind of really basic terms. I'd like to understand the thinking. He's going, yeah, I reviewed it, not enough in that for me. What's that? I never actually knew what that meant, really. Is that telling us there's a scale of running through the back of the player?
I think this is one that I was just thinking that while you were saying this, I was thinking, why don't they do it? And that is more or less the answer I came up with, that it's so marginal that the conversation's going to end up with, I'm not sure. It's not like cricket, they show us them because, again, it's factual. Is it A or is it B? Yeah. Is it outside the line, is it inside the line, or is it on the line so that it's umpire's call? Whereas a lot of this, they might go, well, I'm not sure, I think it's a foul, but I'm not sure enough it's a foul to overturn the decision, or I'm not sure enough it's a foul to give a penalty, or those conversations are not, they'll be clarifying for us in terms of what they're saying, but I feel like they don't want to put the officials in that position, so they just want to be able to definitively give a decision and then hope that everyone moves on. And so I too would be interested. I mean, I say interested in here, that probably isn't quite right. It doesn't sound interesting, but the part of me that cares about how the laws are interpreted and wanting to understand the game in the greatest depth that I possibly can, that it appeals to me in that aspect. But the problem is that these judgment calls are based almost on feel. And I also think that we'd be stupid not to assume it's human nature to be like part of the decision is what are the consequences of interfering and what are the consequences of giving it away. And giving a soft-ish penalty in injury time in front of the Stretford end that changes the result of the match, who wants that?
I did. Please, thank you.
From the part of the refs. And we used to get all this aggravation for getting penalties, dodgy decisions where Fergie was the manager. And obviously that happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. But it also felt like there were loads, and I mean loads of occasions where decisions weren't given because the refs knew about that. And they didn't want that to. We
didn't
went
want the headlines.
And there were full seasons where we get one penalty, no penalties. And
well, remember after Klopp said that United get all these penalties, that we just didn't get a penalty for months on end after that.
After Fergie called Alan Wiley unfit in 09-10, we got almost nothing for the rest of the season. And I'm not saying the refs are cheating at all. I don't think that. I'm saying that humans are humans and referees are still humans. And subconsciously, if someone's attacking one of your mates in your whole profession, you may subconsciously, given a marginal situation, rule against them, not on purpose. And like the one that always stuck with me, that I think there was one at Stamford Bridge in the league, and I think there's a goal that there are like three things wrong with it. Like the ball goes out, it's a corner, the ball goes out before it comes in, there's a foul, it's offside. But in general, that season, United really had the arse end of the decisions after that, and I don't mind it almost. We have a human element in refereeing. I don't care about it. I just feel like VAR obfuscates it to an extra level. And even if you forget compromising the celebration of goals, the greatest feeling known to mankind, for this, I don't feel like it's made the game better or clearer. I want make a decision and let's move on. So in that one, that's fine. You made a decision, no penalty. I'd still like to know why it isn't one. And I still think it was one. So it's not, I'm not saying we were shafted by VAR or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm interested to know why it wasn't the penalty. Because to me, when I saw it again, I felt like I can't see anything about this that isn't penalty.
Yeah. All right. Talking of moving on, how do United move on after this opening day defeat? It's Fulham next week. Surely we are not going to go into that game. And we can do a preview in midweek, but surely we won't go into that game without a striker. I mean, Sesko's going to have a full week of training with his new mates. He's got to be on the team. Who drops out? Presumably Mount.
Yeah.
And then the question is, how brave does Ahmad come into the side? Is it De Ligt or Maguire who's going to be our full-time central centre-back alongside, Yoro and one other, basically? I mean, that looks like the shape of the team. And then does Kobe get a game or not, right? And by the looks of it, not until Fernandes dropped out.
I think another will come back unless we buy someone.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sesko will come in for Mount. I think probably Ahmad will play. And then the other midfield player is just, I don't know what the answer to this is, because I agree with you that he doesn't appear to fancy Mainu, but Casemiro is not the answer, and it's not Ugarte, is it? So
no, it's a real problem. It's funny. I after we had that conversation about 4-3-3 versus 3-4-3, I stuck it out on Twitter, and I was like, I put it together like a United 4-3-3 versus United 3-4-3, and every single time you do whatever permutation the players, it looks like a better, more balanced side playing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 in some fashion, right? That's just the players we have, right? It's just the better team. And it's not going to happen.
But also,
will never happen. One day of Amorim doing that.
There's a reason why most teams play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, because they think that that's better. And what Amorim's trying to do, and I respect it, is he's trying to game the system by sort of having a formation that incorporates the best bits of 3 at the back and the best bits of 4-3-3. But then to be able to do it, you do need... I don't think you need specialists, as I said, because I think there is a good 4-3-3 team in this. It's not like if we fire and we've got to suddenly change everyone. It's that you need a very high level player who's able to do very particular things. And I mean, the centre back, I imagine Maguire is the manager's desired first choice in the absence of Martinez for central centre back. But De Ligt played well enough to stay in.
Yep.
And so...
No, that's all fair, yeah. Yeah. The big missing piece, and we'll see whether anything happens over the next week or two, is that extra midfielder. It's just not balanced.
And we know is it available for not a lot of money.
No, and it's pretty low risk as a result. He's young. He's very physical. Sevilla have no money. They are broke. He would be available if United want to push the boat out, and they could probably do that and still do Baleba next summer. So if that's the wish, or Baleba and Wharton if they get a Champions League spot. And who knows?
And no, it's just the other thing I guess I'd like to see change is Amorim's got to get out of those pedal pushers. Like, he's quite cool and has some acceptable clothing.
Mostly, yeah.
But that was embarrassing, the pedal pushers. And I mean, I guess to restore the cosmic balance, I have to stand a jelly tot in my pocket. So it's not all bad. But
a jelly tot in your pocket?
I mean, I don't carry jelly tots in my pocket.
Is that euphemism for something?
No, like an actual jelly tot.
Okay, all right.
A friend gave me some jelly tots when I went around, and they're the South African ones. The South African sour ones are quite good, but the South African berry ones are a bit bland. So I brought needed one of them, so I brought them home to my daughter, and a jelly tot obviously leaked into my pocket. And
there you go. Very good. All righty, I guess we'll leave it there. We've got a whole week off.
And it's funny you say that, because that is really, I feel sick about that.
I know. I'd like a game coming up in 2 days' time. Yeah.
Quite, and I mean, there is no Europe this week, is there?
No.
So it's not. There always used to be. Like when we were kids, there was always the first weekend game. There'd always be a midweek, the first week of the season. And I miss that, because it's also you're back into it.
Yeah.
And I guess I haven't said this for a while. I'm quite interested to see us play again.
Yeah, and we won't. There's 3 games or whatever it is, and then it will go into the first international break. Then we'll get another 3 games, and we'll go into the second international break. It feels like, I mean, what is it? I think it's 8 before the second international break, and they're all pretty hard. All right,
not having European football is just disgusting.
I know. We do have one midweek, which will be that game away at Grimsby. Top stuff. Thank you very much, Daniel. We will, and thank you, listeners. We'll catch you again next time. I think I'm doing a midweek with Tom, and you can catch me on Substack, and Daniel on Blue Sky. Daniel Harris on Blue Sky, I think it is.
I think that's my name.
Yeah, I'm not there very often.
No, I mean, me neither. I guess I feel like when I got banned from Twitter for posting music videos, and that period of being off it sort of weaned me off social media, and then came back, and obviously the vibes also changed quite a lot over time.
Yeah.
And then Musk and Twitter made me think, well, actually, I need to get off this anyhow. And I'm sort of in the process of not posting very much. And then plan to not post when I got hacked. It had all evidence of my existence removed anyway.
Yes, to be replaced by someone posting pictures of cats.
Cats, yeah. But yeah, I mean, better than pictures of United goalies, I guess. Talking to pussies, I think, was what we meant to say there.
See you next time. Bye now.
So.